This episode of Tea with Jules is proudly brought to you by The Home. You can shop any of the items you see in this episode at thehome.com.au.
Ambrosini, thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really excited to talk to you because I have a lot of personal questions for you today. Now,
Give them to me.
Good. You are a best-selling author. You have an amazing book, which we will talk about, of course, and you're a speaker as well. And you're like the guru of all things life and health and wellness and how to just be zen and happy. So I'm really excited to have you here today. But of course, this is Tea with Jules, so I have to ask you, are you a tea drinker first?
Massive tea drinker.
Good.
Herbals all the way.
Well, we have green tea today.
Beautiful.
So please drink the tea.
I will.
Now, before we get into it, I know in your book you talk about your story and your journey of how you have become this person you are today. But for the sake of our viewers, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, back in 2010, my whole entire life changed. Before that, I was in the entertainment industry. I was a professional dancer. Mm-hmm. I did some acting, bit of TV presenting and a bit of modelling, and I was burning the candle at both ends. I was incredibly unhappy deep within and unwell, and thought the next party, the next drop of alcohol, the next outfit would fulfill me, and got to a point where there was no more candle left to burn. And I ended up in hospital in 2010 with a whole host of health issues, from adrenal fatigue, thyroid problems. I had loads of vitamin and mineral deficiencies. I had depression. I was on antidepressants. And on the outside, it looked like I had this glamorous life, and I was attending these great parties. And
you danced at the Moulin Rouge.
I danced at the Moulin Rouge.
Wow.
Yeah, I did, in Paris, which was such a milestone. But there's so much that goes on behind the veil that you don't see, which is why now I am so passionate about pulling back that veil and really being the most authentic and vulnerable version of myself in order to help inspire other people. So I hit rock bottom and was in hospital, and I was completely lost, completely unhappy. The only thing I did know was that I was very unhappy and very unwell. And I had no idea where to go from there. The doctors came in and they plonked this tray of drugs in front of me and were like, "You've got to take this indefinitely." And I was like, huh? What do you mean? And I just thought something deep within me was like, that's not good enough for me. There's got to be something else. And I was in hospital, and one of my friends sent me my first ever personal development spiritual book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And I devoured this book, and I was like, there is another way. Yay, hallelujah. It's like the sky just opened and I could finally see that there was another way to living and being.
Life does that crazy thing where previous to that, if you received that book, you probably wouldn't have opened it up. You would not have been ready to receive that. What is it? The teacher appears when the student is ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so in that moment you were just ready to be saved.
Totally. I was just this student that was hungry for some guidance.
Yeah.
I just immersed myself in every single personal development and spiritual text that I could find. I went on and studied holistic health. I went on and studied nutrition, life coaching, meditation, yoga teacher training, acuenergetics, which is energy healing work, metaphysics, quantum physics. I just immersed myself in this spiritual self-development world because I wanted to learn and grow, and because I started to feel better. I started to have, for the first time in my life, inner peace. I didn't know what that was. I had so much inner turmoil, comparing myself to other people, especially like being at the Moulin Rouge, like comparing to the other girls and their bodies. And it's a vicious, vicious downward spiral cycle that you can get into.
In that time of healing and learning and devouring, did you take yourself out of that world of entertainment?
I had one toe still over there, which was quite interesting. So I knew that it wasn't true for me anymore. Every time I took a job, I would get so sick again. I would get incredibly unwell, end up back in hospital.
Wow.
So it's like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, was telling me, well, this isn't right for you anymore. And from there, I started a website and I started sharing what I was learning. Like I wrote a blog post about my battle with an eating disorder, and it just went off. And I was like, what is going on? Like this light bulb went off in my head. I was like, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who thinks like this and has these thoughts and has these inner mean girl thoughts. And that was a revelation for me. So I just continued to share what I was going through, what I was learning about comparing myself, and what I was learning about that internal battle that I was having with myself and my body and health and wellness and everything. And it started to take off. My blog really, really got a lot of traction. And then I wrote my first ebook, which was 12 Steps to Wellness. And over the past 5 years, it has literally just snowballed into what it is now. I have this beautiful book, which is published all over the world, and it's become a #1 bestseller, which is amazing. And I'm now a speaker. I speak all over the world. And I have my website, which is melissaambrosini.com, where I create online products and programs to help women be the best version of themselves. And I think because now more than ever, women are hungry for this stuff. They want to be the best versions of themselves. They want to be happier and healthier. Who doesn't want to be happier and healthier?
Everyone has become a lot more aware. There's a lot of kind of inner reflection happening right now. Having a guide and somebody to tell us how to go about that is really important, and someone obviously that is learned and has the knowledge.
Absolutely. And I think people always ask me, how do I stay motivated? Where do I get my inspiration? And it's from you. It's from everyone watching. It's from the people who follow me. Like if there's days that I get up and I'm like, and because I have those days,
Of course.
I turn my attention to my tribe. That gets my butt out of bed.
Right.
That inspires me.
I'm glad you have those days because,
Absolutely.
sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of bed and be happy and put a smile on your face and have the energy and inspire and do all of that. So thank you for saying that.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk about this amazing book. It's called Mastering Your Mean Girl. Now, when I first before I met you, I saw the book on the shelf and I was like, hold on, is this for mean people? But then when I picked it up and had a look, I understood what it meant. It's that inner mean girl or boy inside your mind. It's that negative self-talk.
Exactly.
Little voice in your head that tells you all the negative things about yourself.
And some people call it your ego, your inner critic, your shadow self, your smaller self, whatever. I've just renamed it as your inner mean girl or mean guy or bad boy, whatever you want to say. And the thing is every single person has one.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Is that true? Everyone has one.
Everyone has an ego. Everyone. Some just louder than others. So me, 6 years ago, mine was on volume 10 with a very heavy bass. Like she was prolific. She ran the show. She called the shots. She ran my life. Now, over the years, through the tools that I share in the book, I've been able to dial down her volume. And now she just sits in the back seat of the car and she's on mute. Like she's not trying to drive the car, my life car. She's just in the back. And sometimes she'll pops up, and she'll pipe up and say something. And I have the tools now to be able to quickly master her and put her back on mute.
Okay, so give us some tools, Mel.
Done. Okay, let's do it. So there's a little 3-step process that I can tell you that you can start to do today. It's a very, very simple 3-step process. I'm all about simple. We're all got full lives. I'm all about simple and digestible, but depending how loud your mean girl is, doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park.
Okay.
So you said the first step before, it's awareness. You have to become aware of what it is that she is saying to you. Whether it's, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, who do you think you are, starting a blog, no one's going to read it, you'll never get out of debt, you'll never meet the guy, whatever. We've all got our one or two more popular mean girl thoughts or bad boy thoughts. So becoming aware of them is absolutely key. Because you can't unknow what you already know. And I always get everyone to write down what it is that their inner critic is saying to them.
And writing it down is a powerful...
It's so powerful.
Moment.
More powerful. Because when do we ever even stop to think about this stuff? We're so busy to work on ourselves, but if you just stopped and each day or, every few days just wrote down, oh, my mean girl's she's been saying I'm looking fat a lot lately or whatever it is. She's been really mean. So just get them out of your head and onto paper. Because it also, what it does is it helps separate it from your truth, because your truth is love. Your truth isn't those negative things that we say to ourselves. The second step is when that voice pops up to say those things is gently closing the door on them. It's not about slamming the door. There's a lot of spiritual texts that talk about killing the ego or smashing the ego. It's not about that. It's about being aware and then choosing to gently close the door, not inviting her in to sleep over and wear your clothes and sleep in the middle of you and your partner and eat all your food. And then the third step is you choose love instead. So you come back to your heart. You come back to your truth. It's not always going to be easy, especially if your inner dialogue has been so loud for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. She's going to put up a fight. She's going to be banging down that door. But our job is to not let her win.
How do you do that when you're like in that zone where your mean girl is louder than love?
It's really important that you do feel whatever comes up as well. This isn't about always being positive, because that's not going to happen. You're going to feel angry. You're going to feel sad. You're going to feel cranky. You're going to feel tired. And the important thing is to allow yourself to feel those things when you need to. But then you can go, okay.
Don't dwell in it. Don't live there.
Exactly. Because if we stay in it, it's just a downward spiral. Like, I fully allow myself to get angry if I need to get angry. But then it's a choice. I can sit in it. I can sit and dwell in this anger a bit more, maybe another day, maybe another 2 years, 10 years. It's my choice. Or I can choose to master my mean girl and let it go.
You've just mentioned about coming back to love and choosing love over fear. And I was reading the book and I was like, yeah, I think I get it. Sort of understand. But then I got to this chart in your book and I fully understood. You do this chart where there's a love column and a fear column. And this is where it really kind of drove home to me. Example, in the love column, I exercise because I love the way it makes me feel. That's doing exercise out of love.
Yep.
Out of fear, I exercise because I hate the size of my bum and thighs and because I'm desperate to fit into my jeans again. And I was like, okay, I get this. I understand. And it actually changed my mindset a bit because I think, you can apply that to everything really. I was thinking about food, like you eat the food that you think's going to make you skinny. But what you're saying is eat the food that nourishes your body and makes you feel great and is good for you. It's this whole mind shift.
Ultimately, throughout our day, we're constantly making decisions all the time. We're constantly making, okay, I'm going to drink this, I'm going to wear this, I'm going to eat this, I'm going to go here, I'm going to meet this person. And it ultimately comes down to one of two things. Are you doing it out of love or are you doing it out of fear? It's only two decisions ever. You know, am I going to see this person because I love this person and I'm excited to see them, or am I going because I feel like I have to, because I want to keep that relationship going and it's my great aunt's cousin's daughter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same with movement. Are you moving your body because you love your body and your temple and you want to nourish it and look after it, or are you moving it because you're so desperate to move those kilos? And when we do things from that place of fear, there's always a consequence. It'll play out in some other area in our life.
I'm really going to take that on board into my own life.
Yep.
I'm going to eat the brownie sometimes.
And just do it with love it. Just
Yeah.
like, yes, this is amazing.
I'm going to eat a brownie with my tea.
Yeah.
The front of your book says, the No BS Guide to Silencing Your Inner Critic and Becoming Wildly Wealthy, Fabulously Healthy and Bursting with Love. It just says everything in there. And I love the no BS thing, because it really is. It's like simple, understandable, bite-sized pieces that you can apply to your life. And there's something interesting you said, and I wanted to ask you genuinely a question from me. You said there's no such thing as forgiveness. That was so interesting to me. Explain.
Okay, so this was huge for me when I was sitting down with a mentor that I have, and she's an older woman, and she said to me, like, one of my aims in life is to be less judgmental of myself when I look in the mirror, less judgmental of how much I earn, of, you know, just being that inner critic, and also less judgmental of other people, because we're constantly judging people all the time. So when I say that I need to forgive that person for doing that to me, it's a judgment that they've done something wrong and I'm right. So that's my whole view on forgiveness. And because, when we say I need to forgive you or you need to forgive me, we've said you're right and I'm wrong, or I'm right and you're wrong. And that's a judgment. So I instead like to look at it as, I'm going to let that go. You know, I'm not going to go into the story of who's right or who's wrong and you did this and you said this, and I don't have time. It's exhausting. So for me, it's like, okay, I feel angry from this situation. I allow myself to feel it, and then I come back to choosing to let it go.
Therefore, forgiveness doesn't exist because there's nothing to forgive.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Exactly. But for me, when this realization happened to me, all of these things that I was holding on to, all of these past hurts, I could finally free myself. I was like, oh my goodness, thank God.
Because you're right, you do carry that around, and it affects your body, your inner health, the way you see people, the way you react to things. It does affect a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you talk about being wildly wealthy and our relationship with money, which is something we don't really like to talk about. I mean, it's sort of that gets put on the shelf and that's
quite
about
taboo.
it. Yeah. You don't share about, how much you earn for this and how much you pay for that and what you're worth and all the rest of it. But what advice can you offer for us with our relationship with money?
So when I say becoming wildly wealthy, I'm referring to being rich and abundant and wealthy in every area of your life. So in your relationships, in your health, yes, in your finances, in your career, in everything.
Yeah.
I want everyone to feel rich in every area. So that's what I'm referring to. But looking more specifically at our relationship with money, it's a goodie, because it kind of shows us how we look at all different areas of our life. Like if we've got a more scarcity mindset, or if we have a more abundant mindset, that will drip feed out into other areas of your life. I realized when I hit rock bottom that I was carrying around my dad's belief around money, and it wasn't even mine. So I had this very limited scarcity mindset around, you got to work really hard, you got to flog it out. You know, my parents were, they migrated from Italy, and they were very, very poor. and they had to work really, really hard to provide for me and my brother and my sister. And so I had adopted that mentality.
Right.
But when I hit rock bottom and I was doing my self-reflection, I was like, hang on a second. What do I believe? And no one takes the time to actually sit down and work this out unless you do my book. Mm-hmm. So that was really prolific for me to redefine my definition of financial success and success in general, and rewrite it out.
What is your belief about money, say?
I believe money is energy, and I believe it's something that we just use is a form of exchange, and there's got to be that energetic exchange in order for us to value what we're receiving.
Okay.
So if you were a life coach and I came and you said, I'll just give it to you for free, there's a part of me that wouldn't truly value what you have to offer because there's no exchange. But if there is an energetic exchange, maybe it's money, maybe it's you say, hey, I'd love to style you for your next 5 speaking gigs. There's an exchange. So in order for us to value what we're getting, we have to have an energetic exchange.
Got it. Because then it's worth something to me and it's worth something to you.
And we value it.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be in the form of money. So I believe money is abundant. I believe it's energy. And I believe it will always show up for what is really true for you. You know, I was talking to one of my best girlfriends yesterday, and she's moving out on her own, and this new place is $200 more expensive than what she's currently paying. And she had so much mean girl fear pop up. You know, you can't afford this. What if you fail? What if you can't pay? Like, what are you going to do? She had so much, and she's like, Mel, I need to sit with you. We need to have a chat about this. And I got her to write out everything that her mean girl was saying. At the end of it, we then said, okay, do we have hardcore proof? Do we have evidence that you're not going to be able to make these repayments? She was like, oh, no, well, not really. No, it's just made up in my head. And she ended up coming to this really beautiful place within herself where she was like, yeah, really empowered and inspired. And she's like, I'm going to do it. It feels true for me. So I feel like when you do something that's really true for you, you're always supported.
That's worked for you since you've had these revelations. It's actually you've applied it and it's worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And now, Mel, you are married to a lovely man, Nick, and you have stepson, Leo, too. So now you're a mama.
Yep.
How was that?
Leo's 10, so I'll just preface that so people, know that he's not in nappies still, because that's a very different stage.
Yes.
But becoming a step parent is like nothing, like you cannot really explain it unless you're in it. You are literally an overnight mum or an overnight dad.
Yeah.
And because I came into their life when Leo was 5, he's out of nappies. I didn't see any of that. Like, I didn't experience any of that. So it's so, and it must be so different for someone who comes in at that stage to the stage that I came at. And we have him 50% of the time, so 1 week on and 1 week off, and he's beautiful. It has opened me up to levels of love I didn't know existed. It has opened me up to levels of personal development I need to do on myself. It's taught me lessons on unconditional love, lessons on patience, lessons on presence like no other, as you know. I am totally in love and obsessed with these 2 boys. And
I know you are loved up.
I am so loved up. I literally wake up in the morning and I'm like, thank you. And I have adopted that attitude of gratitude. And I haven't always been like that. It's something that I've had to learn, because the more you appreciate what you have, the more you get.
Actually, I'm not very grateful when I wake up because I've been woken up by a screaming child
Yep.
at about 5:30. It's hard to dig deep to find something to be... No, but you know what? I do it at the end of the day.
Yep.
And I have 2 kind of gratitude journals. One is my life one, and one is my children one.
Yeah,
So I write
beautiful.
down, you know, like a cute thing they've said, or something that is hilarious, or something great that happened that day, because it does, like, sometimes you get to the end of the day and you're like, what a day. But then you think about it and you can always find something.
For me, when I've got to dig deep, it could be as simple as, I'm grateful for my pillow. Like, I'm not even kidding you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so grateful for my pillow because that's a really good pillow. And you know what? You could really inspire your kids. Get them involved.
That's a good idea.
We get Leo involved. So we do it around the dinner table every night with Leo. 3 things.
Yes.
And the things that come out of his mouth blow our mind. Like, we're kicking each other under the table or like pinching each other, like going, oh my God, he's so freaking cute. Like the other day, Leo said, I'm so grateful for the farmers who grew this food and produce that's now on our plate. And I was like, that is beautiful. I was like tearing up.
So great. Now, I mean, I feel like I need to end it there because it's on such a beautiful, positive, grateful note.
Yes.
Talking to you has been so beautiful. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
grateful
you
for
writing,
you.
No, thank you for writing this book, really. And I think more girls especially should read this. Cheers. You didn't
Cheers.
get any of
Oh
your
my
tea.
God, my tea. It's what we all call. Thank you.